All right, let's give a hand for Creator Day!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ben Labs Creator Day 2024. Are we excited? I'm excited. First, I wanted to say thank you to Microsoft for hosting us in such a beautiful, beautiful venue. On this day in 2005, the first piece of content was uploaded to YouTube. Can you believe it? Like, what a crazy moment, crazy experience. It forever changed the way the content ecosystem worked. Ricky will talk about decentralization and what that means. And it empowered the world, every one of us, to create content.
Yep. Hey, what's up, friends? My name is Judah, and alongside Aaron, we are going to guide you through Creator Day, and I got to say, what you're going to see is absolutely insane, and it's going to change the ways that creators and brands operate. So we're super excited to share all these things with you today. But first, we have a very exciting panel with our VP of Creator, Alec Wagley. So give him a round of applause.
And joining Alec, we have a panel of trailblazing digital creators. So excited to have King Bach. Yes. Hannah Stocking. And Kris London joining us here today. So let's welcome them on stage.
We don't want to, you know how it goes, and so we're going to roll with that one. So pick whatever feels right. Whatever color is calling to your name right now, pick that one. But just don't take my end chair. Hey, another round of applause for Creator Day. Stoked for this. You know, it's funny, when we were talking about Creator Day and who we want to have up on the panel, we were going through, who are some of the OG creators that pioneered this space and that really helped pave the way for what we have today. And obviously these three came to mind right away, knowing that they started off on Vine, started off on YouTube, and really have been able to pioneer what we are today. So give it up for our Fireside Chat people. Here we go. So the topic of today, we want to talk about monetization and how these creators have taken what they love to do and they bring it to life and make it their career, and they make it a way that they can live every single day being a creator. And we recognize that monetization takes a lot of forms when it comes to, subscribers, and it comes to merch, and it comes to brand deals, co-branded products. Shout out to Nomadic with the Peter Kinnan one, amazing job. And we look at that and we see how is it changing over time. And knowing that AI is a really big focus right now on what's happening, in this world today, we're going to dabble into that a little bit as well too. So as we get started, I got one microphone, so we're going to pass it down the line, and it'll work out. It'll be good, I promise you. They wanted to keep it, so we're going to roll with that one. So Batch, we'll start off with you, okay? We'll run into this. And so my goal for this one, like I said, a chat amongst friends. Just a little fireside chat. There's no one here, so feel free to give us the good stuff. Spill the tea a little bit if we have to, And so here's a big fact. I don't know if you know this or not. Batch actually holds the Guinness World Record for the most Vine followers. And the cool thing about that is no one's ever been able to take that because it doesn't exist anymore. So that's yours forever, dog. So killing it. So listen, let's start off in the beginning here. You've been able to monetize your content, grow as a creator on Netflix, having a show, being in a show as well too, having their own stand-up tour as well. How have you continued to evolve and adapt your content to go from Vine into YouTube? Oh, thank you. And continue just to do the good stuff. Hit us.
I think the important thing is to stay true to who you are. You build your own brand, and the thing that we're most conscious of is what they call selling out.
Totally.
Like, you don't want to look like you're the one that's being paid to promote this product. You want to pick products and brands that line up with who you are.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important. That's what I try to do.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've ever hit that point where your fans have called you out, and how have you handled that?
No, they've never called me out. I've been so aware just because I've been such like a consumer of celebrities and watching people and how they do things and how they failed and did things. So I realized from the beginning, like, when I'm going to start this, if it doesn't align with my brand, I'm not going to do it. So
totally.
I've only worked with a few brands. A lot of them are big brands, because if I'm going to sell out, I'm going to sell out. You know what I mean? But
the round of applause for selling out. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. But and it's I work with a lot of the brands that know who King Bach is,
sure.
And what type of content I do create. That way, if we do create content together, it still aligns with what people are used to seeing.
Totally. So you got to be true to yourself, that authenticity. You know your audience. You know what they want to see, and you're cognizant of that, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Cool. Hannah, I got a question for you. Also,
Talk to me.
This is a big deal. I don't know if you know this or not. Hannah is about to hit 1 billion likes on TikTok, which is crazy.
Wow.
I mean, someone fact checked me. I think we're like a million away yesterday, and I was like, that's crazy.
No way.
And we were talking about this before, and that means 1 billion people have double tapped that, which means that's 2 billion clicks on people's phones that have
Just
liked
like
your content.
Pop, pop on
I
their
know.
phone to my profile. That hurts my brain to think
I
about.
know,
That's
that's
so
a lot.
crazy.
Well, and the coolest part, though, is you've done a phenomenal job, though, looking at trends. What is trending right now, whether it's Coachella or the door trend where people are going over the roof and jumping over, and you are the queen when it comes to trends, knowing what's going on. How do you continue to know, to put your comedic flair on it and to continue to keep people engaged?
I would say a lot of it is studying and trial and error. I have a background in science, and so that's kind of like all I know. I did a lot of embryonic stem cell research, so I kind of translate it to what I do now, which is content creating, and I'm just always consuming everything and staring at numbers and being completely engulfed into it, but also making sure if I am doing a trend or something like that, I make sure it's not the same exact thing that people are doing. I always make sure to put my twist at the end if I'm getting clotheslined by a tree or dressing up as a big buff woman or something like that. But that's just, something I try to do.
I respect that. And I know everyone's asking, I don't know if you've seen a lot of Hannah's content in regards to, losing your clothing at Coachella or going through those other things. How do you step into public and you're okay with people just and you just roll with it? Like, how do you not get embarrassed? Because I would have a really hard time doing that. So hit me.
Who says I'm not embarrassed? No, it's just something that I've studied over the years. When I do content in public, that tends to just do really well, and especially I've kind of learned the content for me, at least, because I have a pretty big demographic in the Latin community in Brazil. I make content that doesn't have too much dialogue and words, so people who don't speak English can understand and laugh at it. And of course, the embarrassment and slapstick crazy thing to happen in public, and also getting everybody's reactions is something I enjoy to watch. So that's why I typically shoot those things.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, it's super embarrassing still, though.
Listen, we're here for it. And I don't know if you've seen the giant suitcase walking through the airport. Still surprised you didn't get stopped by security, and we're able to make that happen. So.
Yeah, I got a suitcase made. It was like 12 feet tall, and it was like girls packing for a one-day trip. But I actually took it in a U-Haul, brought it to LAX, and my camera guy wasn't getting the shot, so we actually ended up having to shoot it 12 times. But thankfully, it was hilarious, and all the TSA people ran over. I thought we were going to get kicked out, but then they ended up taking selfies with it, so it worked out. Yeah.
And Kris London, you use that now for your clothing and your stuff too, right? That's
That's what I like to use. That size.
Love it. So for you, a lot of studying the data, understanding the trends, being true to yourself, and I think that's a big thing we've talked about. I'm coming to you, LSK, right now. So we're jumping to this one. You know, Kris, I don't know if you know that, he's done a phenomenal job at carving his name in the sports community. Kris and I actually go way back to partnering together on the Super Bowl back in Minnesota 6 years ago. -20 degrees, the coldest we both agree we've ever been in our entire lives, and never want to relive that coldness again. But knowing that you worked in the sports community, and so I went to your page yesterday and I was scrolling through, and I am so impressed. I think you have probably the most brand deals out of any sports content creator I've ever seen, to be very honest with you, which is awesome in and of itself.
I like to sell
Love
out.
it.
No.
As your necklace is like just shining the light, like yes, I do.
got bills to pay.
I appreciate that.
I got a baby now. You know what I'm saying? Diapers ain't cheap.
I love it. How do you know what your audience wants to see? How do you work through that? Like from your monetization efforts, what's your perspective there? Hit us.
Like Batch said, I think what's true to me and my brand, sports. So ticketing sponsor, that's a great one that I love working with, just because I don't have to try or do something or be somebody I'm not, because I'm going to basketball games, sharing my experience, and it's just a natural fit. So that's what I try to do when working with brands, just find a brand that fits me. I know being tall, it's hard to do. So, I think it's just comes from experience. I've been on this platform, YouTube, for over a decade.
Yeah.
Learning
2012, baby.
2012, since I was in college. And looking at the platform now, it's just really adapted, and that's what I try to do, is just always adapt. That's how I try to stay relevant on the platform, because being relevant for 10 years, that is just like
it's not easy.
It's not easy at all. No. I think I do my best at doing so.
Well, here's a surprise question for you on this one, and roll with me, okay? What has been the biggest difference in YouTube, circa 2012 versus what it is today? What do you think the biggest change has been for you?
I think as I mature as just a human, it's hard to keep up with the trends. I think what I wanted to post 10 to 12 years ago does not. Well, I don't even know if it's allowed on the platform.
Give us examples. Come on.
But no, I think it's just now I understand kind of my audience better too.
Totally.
I know a lot of kids watch my content, and I have kids that aspire to be sports athletes, whatever it may be, and so I stay mindful to that.
Sure.
And going into YouTube, I was not mindful of that at all. So I think just like Batch said again, I just try to stay true to what my morals and principles are, and I think as long as you do that as a creator, I think you'll go far. So.
Love it. Cool. Well, thank you. Any other thoughts to add, either one of you? We're rolling. Nailed it. Appreciate it. Okay, listen. So we've talked about the past. What does monetization look like? All of you, like I said, you've proven that you've been able to adapt and evolve and change, and to make a career out of something that you love. Now let's go look into the future real fast. And since you already got the microphone, we'll just continue with you for a second, Kris. Right. I know before we talked about AI and what the future of AI looks like, and I know, in my mind, when I think about AI, there's kind of three main things that I feel like it's going to really impact, the creator community. One of them is editing. How do I edit faster? How do I get, using Sora or GPT or these other things that come up with it? I think content creation itself is a big part of it as well. And also just streamlining processes and making things go quicker. And the last part, analyzing data and understanding your audience and understanding how your audience behaves, and that way you guys can continue to be, authentic to who you are. For yourself, have you touched AI when it comes to your creative process? If so, what are your thoughts, and where has it impacted for you?
I've tried my best to, keep up with the AI. It is moving pretty rapidly, I would say, as far as just tools and just the progression as it's integrating into, tools that we use. I like to use TubeBuddy for like thumbnail analysis.
Let's go.
And I don't know if people are familiar with TubeBuddy, but yes, I use that often for just like there's some good insight for thumbnail design, along with just tags and boring stuff like that. And then I would say with Chat GPT, sorry, I'm a little dyslexic, so sometimes I say Chat GTP. You get what I'm trying to say, but I like to use that as like a foundation for script writing sometimes.
Totally.
I struggle thinking of, ideas to just start, and it's a good way to just kind of give me that spark that I need to get a new idea out.
Love it.
That's kind of how I use it right now.
So soundboarding, working through it, and like having those questions, and Hannah, you and I were talking about this beforehand. At 2 a.m. when that idea comes to you, like you can write it down, you can have that conversation with it and help idea and build it on further too. So,
yeah,
love it. Thank you, Hannah. I got a question for you.
Yes.
You already talked about being the queen of trends, understanding like authentically who you are, and also building that comedic flair to it. For you, where do you see AI, kind of working into your monetization strategy, working into how you make content or how you edit content? Hit us. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have found that AI is actually, I found this program actually that helps with VFX, because I have a lot of VFX in my videos, but I try to make it look as real as possible. So it's actually saved me a lot of money on VFX, because with this new AI thing that I use, I can make my lips extra small or massively huge, and it's very quick. And I've even had some of my visual effects team members say, "You did this yourself? How did you do it? How quick? Wait, give me the program. This is crazy."
Like, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah. Right. They're like, "Oh gosh." But yeah, in that sense, I think it's great. I can't wait to see where it evolves, because wow, it's helped me a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know also when it comes to editing, I actually remember, and I won't say what the brand was. I remember one of your videos we got, there was logos that we couldn't use in it. And frame by frame, I know your editors had to go in there and blur out every single one of those logos, and that takes hours of work. And now I know there's been a lot of new stuff coming out with different tools where you highlight that logo and it's gone. And it doesn't exist anymore. So I think for you all, when it comes to monetizing your content and creating that, that's going to be a big deal too. So
Yeah,
for that one.
totally. Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Batch, here's the last question for you for the night, and we'll run through this one as well too. Being a creative genius, someone who writes shows and produces and acts as well too, how do you feel like AI is going to help bring and support your creative soul as you're going out there and ideating and coming up with ideas?
Yeah, I think just like he was saying, I think AI is good for a base. Right now, for me, it's not advanced enough to know, because I'm a very unique style. Like, my style is for people from the hood. So I don't think AI really has dove into that yet. But maybe one day AI will come on to the dark side and know how to work. But it's good for a base, definitely good for a base. But when it comes to really getting specific jokes that I like to hit, it doesn't really, it's not there yet. But in a couple years, I think it'll be there.
Totally. So you're excited for it, not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But you're optimistic that it'll work
It's
out,
a good base. It's a good base.
Totally.
Great base.
Yeah, I always say it kind of builds all of the structure, the frame of the house, and then knowing what the house needs to look like, you can put your flair on it and kind of build it from there.
Exactly.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Here's the last question for all of you tonight. We'll kind of just go down the row. Like I said, you guys have been all making content for 10 years, or more than 10 years, which is crazy. And you've seen it. You've gone through it. If you could look 10 years in the future right now, what does the world of content creation look like? What does the world of monetization look like? And does it excite you? Are you fearful of it? What are your thoughts? Hit us.
In 10 years?
10 years.
Oh,
You're
man.
in your 40s, by the way. So.
Nah, I'm going to still be in my 20s. We got AI. What you mean?
Edit that out. Still 20s, yes.
I'm going back in time. No, man, I can't. It changes so fast. I don't even have the answer for that. But hopefully, script writing will be easier. Editing will be easier. Shooting content will be easier. I saw a full short film that was straight AI generated.
Crazy, right?
And that was pretty insane. And it looked like, something like that would take months, if not years, to make. So It was the balloon one.
Yeah, beautiful.
Have you guys seen the balloon
Love the
AI
balloon.
short film? Check that out. It's insane. But yeah, that's what I think.
Love it. Cool. Hannah, hit us.
It's so crazy because everything changes in social media overnight. So I can't imagine what it's like in 10 years. But I know at least when I started, we weren't able to really totally monetize on TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat back in the day. And now we are. So I can only really speak for me. I put so much into my videos. I actually spend a lot of money to create my videos. So I hope, in the future, we'll get a little bit more monetization.
Shout out, plug. People listening to that one. Love it.
But hopefully, again, editing's easier. And I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Cool. So for you, a lot of it comes down to like working with the platform still, getting paid through that, and furthering that along too. So
Love totally.
Chris, take us away, dog.
Yeah, I think there's obviously going to be more monetization opportunities. And like Hannah was saying, I think it'll just be, I hope, a lot easier to provide like special effects, props, and videos that maybe you would have to spend a lot of money for. So with that said, I think there's going to be even more creators on the platforms, which I think sparks more like friendly competition in the sense of just being more creative.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot better and more creative videos, I think. That is pretty exciting just because then you don't have to just rely on one platform to be entertained. There's going to be hundreds, I think, of platforms, which could be scary for, companies and things like that. But I also think, like I said, it's good for that competitive nature to just be the best and be good.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, I remember like when TikTok blew up, right before, was it 2020, and like how all these creators came out of nowhere. And it's been so cool. I mean, some of them we have here in the audience today, like who've done a phenomenal job of building a big community on TikTok. And then I love it, 100%. And then taking that onto YouTube or onto Instagram and continue to find ways to monetize and work through that as well. Thank you so much for all of you for sending your insights today. And we're stoked to see where it takes us. That's all.
Thank you.
Into my advice about ideating and coming up with better ideas, I want to quickly shout out to you guys for watching this video and trying to be a better creator and trying to be a better you. I love that. But my one piece of advice is to spend more time with ideas, ideating, brainstorming, whatever you want to call it. Spend more time in that creative process before you click record. And the best way to think about that is with this quote from Abraham Lincoln, who once said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." Think about that. And while you're thinking about that, also read the book, A Technique of Producing Ideas. I love it. It's super short. No excuses for you not to read it. It's like 30 pages. But yeah, do that and ideating will be a lot better. So good luck out there and yeah.
it is time to prepare ourselves for a keynote.
It is my honor to introduce Ricky Ray Butler, CEO of Ben Labs and TubeBuddy. Ricky is a pioneer within the creator economy, transforming the way that we leverage data and AI for both brands and creators. Please join us in welcoming Ricky Ray Butler to the stage.
Hey, thanks everyone. I am seriously excited and honored to be here and to be here celebrating, Creator Day. We believe that AI will not be what disrupts creators or artists. We believe it's going to be AI that really empowers creators and artists to scale what they're doing and to be even more intelligent and take out the guesswork of what they can do when they self-express to even gain more momentum. We believe, the creator economy is truly the era of the artist. There's more content now than ever before. And this is the first time in the history of entertainment and art where you actually have creators and artists making a living. There's over 300 million content creators out there today. And there's millions of them that are making money and are able to make a living. And with a history of being very marginalized or going through a lot of different difficulty, monetizing or being able to have, freedom of expression, etc. This is a really interesting time. I believe that, this era of the artist is going to be remembered for centuries to come because we've never seen so much decentralization of creation and art and artists, and it's something that I think people are going to write about centuries to come and remembering that in 2024, 2025, 2023, that this was a time where there was more creators and creators truly had freedom of voice and they could truly express themselves and be able to take control of their own destinies. And this is important. Why is that? Well, art is what preserves history. Art is what preserves culture. Art, what we've also learned, is the best form of data that we can learn from and see the future with. And we'll talk more about that and how that works. But the truth is, with all these breakthroughs with AI, it's because of art and artists. If we look back at Leonardo da Vinci, not a lot of people know that he actually designed a plane hundreds of years before the first plane took flight. This is not, an anomaly. There have been many artists or authors or poets that have predicted that we would make it to the moon. Or, if you look at Star Wars or if you look at Star Trek, we're starting to see that. Those types of pieces of content inspired companies like SpaceX or NASA. There is a lot that has happened that have been manifested by artists that have really guided and directed where humanity was going. And so art is one of those areas where we get to really dream of what we want to do. And then later on, as we really accomplish and we engineer and we figure out how to make that innovation happen. And so there's been a history of artists being marginalized. If you go to the 1400s, you have Mikulus of Kazan. He created an astrological clock that I've seen personally in Prague that is just beautiful. Well, did you know that his eyes were gouged out after he created this clock? Why? Because the people in power at that time did not want him to create another clock. This has happened in other situations as well. You also have Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh never got to see the fruits of his efforts. He didn't become famous until after he passed, and he never made money before then as well. And if we look at Frida, she had a disability. It was very hard to be an artist and a woman, especially in the early 1900s. But she's one of those artists that probably in a different time, in a different era, could have been much more successful. And then we have Shonda Rhimes. She was challenged and questioned with a lot of her creative ideas. And she's now known of creating some of the most successful IP in Hollywood. But those Hollywood centralized committees really did slow her down of what she wanted to accomplish and the art that she wanted to create. And so we're ushering in the era of the artist. There's now more content creators, more artists, more Hollywoods than ever before. And they're now finally free to be able to self-express and to do what they want. And this is important as we look at, history, as we look at pop culture, as we look at preserving the culture of humanity, we're now able to see more self-expression across more platforms and across more different types of art than ever before. And so we have a new realm of artists, from Mr. Beast, who is by far the biggest TV series of all time. Well, he also owns one of the fastest growing chocolate companies in the world, Feastables. Well, one person that you maybe not have heard of is Minnie McKnight. Several years ago, before Feastables, or before Prime Energy Drink, she launched Heritage, that has been doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year in Walmart sales. And the list goes on. You have Taylor Swift. Now the platforms and all the studios and all the tech businesses are all bowing down to her and her influence. She is truly empowered, and she's truly able to be independent and to be able to make the choices that she wants, to be able to self-express her art to her community. And you have Bert Kreischer, and then you have many other examples where people have been able to be very successful as artists. I'm predicting today that the next wave of billionaires is going to be coming from artists and creators, more so than any other industry.
Are we good to go?
Of course, the embarrassment
of art. Yes, a lot of people are marginalized. A lot of people are abused or not free to self-express the way that they wanted. But we also had a very interesting world of centralized media. If you look just in the past history, we all remember the TV. Well, there was a time where there's only dozens or hundreds of different channels or different networks that you could be working with. And then today we have over 1,000 Hollywoods, and there's over 300 million content creators. There's more than 10 million videos being uploaded in every hour. That is insane if you really think about the impact that art has, and that the fact that there's still demand. What we've noticed as looking at the data is that every year and every month, this decentralization of art, this growth of art, and this fragmentation of art and content is growing faster and faster. And so it's hard to argue that we're not experiencing an art revolution. But I want to just make it very clear that there's no coincidence that we're also experiencing the AI revolution at the same time. It's art that is fueling the AI. It's the best form of data that really makes it so AI can learn and do things that humans just can't do ourselves. And it's a very exciting time, but a lot of times people get really nervous. They react negatively. You have a lot of artists, you have a lot of companies and brands that are saying, stop the AI, slow it down, and they're scared of it. Well, what's interesting about this is, we saw the WGA, had strikes last year. What's interesting is what we've learned is we've been able to create predictive models on predicting which new TV pilots are going to be successful before they come out. We've been able to predict 8 out of the top 10 new TV pilots for the last 5 years. Well, what's interesting about this is there's one data feature that has made this possible that is very prominent. That's probably the biggest breakthrough that we found. What do you think the most important data feature is? It's not the director. It's not the celebrities involved. It's not the distribution. Those all help. But the most important data feature is actually the synopsis or the script. And so as we were very nervous about AI taking over scripts and taking over writers' jobs, it's really the writing that is going to be making the biggest difference if that show is going to perform or not. And yes, AI, will build a scale that and make it so we can write much faster, but it really comes from the human brain and the creativity of the human that makes it so it's possible. And so it's really, scary and it's an interesting time to be alive when you see all this new technology moving so quickly. But the truth is, AI really is just software for math. It makes it so we can really turn the lights on and see the full picture. We can really contextualize and understand all the data that's important. And so if we look at all these AI breakthroughs that have happened in the last 2 years, you have ChatGPT, DALL-E 3, you have Midjourney, Gemini. You know what they have in common? They all have 2 things in common. One, these are breakthroughs in art and content. 2, these are breakthroughs in being able to contextualize what we call unstructured data. And what is unstructured data? Well, this is the data that doesn't fit into a spreadsheet. This is the images, the audio, the large groups of text, the actual video. And what we've learned is that this is the data that makes it so you can have AI do things that we just can't do as humans. It's the data that it's actually 80 to 90% of the data on the planet. Right now, as most organizations and artists, as well as brands, most of them are only looking at the data in a spreadsheet, the numbers, the metadata. Well, that's only 10 to 20% of the picture. Do you think these people, are able to see the full picture? Technically, everyone's blind that's looking just at Excel spreadsheets or at the metadata. And so it's very important to really understand is that AI is not only helping us do things faster and helping us scale things, but they're helping us really understand and become much more aware of what's happening. And so there's a lot of issues that both artists and brands are facing. Because brands today, I think we all know, if they want to be relevant, they have to start building a community and they have to start acting like artists or like creators. So one thing that both sides are really having a hard time with is ad avoidance. Ad avoidance is at an all-time high. You have 90% of the globe that are skipping ads. You have 47% of the globe that use an ad blocking technology. 76 of iOS users opt out from being tracked. And they have all of the different regulations that are happening right now when it comes to GDPR and other areas of compliance, where it's very difficult to target people and to have them notice your advertising. Well, we know how that impacts brands. Most brands drive sales with advertising. And if they're not being seen or noticed, that's very hard to capture people's attention. Well, when it comes to creators, how does this impact them? Well, a lot of creators have rev shares on ad platforms, like YouTube or TikTok, or when it comes to television. A lot of series are filmed when it comes to ad revenue. And ad avoidance is actually not just impacting negatively brands, but it's also impacting negatively creators. Another area that's been a struggle, that's an issue that people are facing today, is monetization. Not everyone can launch a Feastables that's now beating, I believe, Hershey's in like 4 different categories. That takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of investment, and not a lot of artists and creators have that type of capital to be, launching those types of businesses. Well, one thing that's also interesting is 69% of creators make more money from brand collaborations and sponsorships than from anywhere else when it comes to monetization. That's even more so than what they do from products or what they do with rev share with the different social platforms or media companies. And so monetization is one of those areas where there needs to be breakthroughs. And we'll talk a lot about what breakthroughs we're working on with technology to make it so the $875 billion a year that's being spent on media can be spent more intelligently by brands, but also make it so it can go straight to the artists and straight to the creators so they can make a better living to be empowered to do what they do best, and that's create. Decentralization of content. We talked about how there's 300 million content creators, over 1,000 Hollywoods. Well, all that content is impossible for the human mind to really compute. We have a hard time monitoring it, prioritizing it, organizing it, or even leveraging it to be successful with it. And so decentralization of content, where you have 10 million videos being uploaded every hour and thousands of Hollywoods, that's exciting. There's obviously a huge demand for diverse content, but in order to really leverage that, it's become very confusing, and it's extremely confusing to brands and media and advertising, because people are very used to doing a turnkey process with a media buy, whether you're buying ads on Meta or Google, or if you're working with a media planner to do TV media buys. It's typically been a pretty straightforward process. But with all the ad avoidance, this decentralization of content is making it even more difficult. Well, where all these things become a superpower is when you can truly contextualize and leverage unstructured data, as we talked about before. And as you see here, it's 90% of the data that is out there. And it's also the data that can really give us the insight to take out the guesswork to be as successful as we possibly can. So at Ben Labs and TubeBuddy, we've learned something. We're not following the trends of doing generative AI and creating our own LLMs, but we do leverage a lot of that technology, and we look at the exact same data to see breakthroughs with AI. And what we've learned is that you can make better decisions with content if you contextualize the audience as well as contextualize the content. And if you're able to contextualize the audience and the content, you're able to make predictions that you could never do on your own. And so this is where AI can come in and help us really contextualize who's following us, what are they interested in, and then what content is going to resonate with that audience the most, where they're going to actually go and buy something or for sure view it. And so this is an example of a case study where we primarily worked with content creators to take one company, a brand that's in the toy category, from 5th place in their category to 1st place. Now this is a challenger brand that's actually a startup. And basically, we better contextualize with our AI their audience. We're able to better contextualize which content and which creators were going to drive the most sales based on that audience. And what ended up happening is in 6 months, we took them from 5th or last in their category to 1st in their category, where they spent 7 figures but made a return of over 9 figures. And where this gets exciting is that not only did this new company able to compete against Fortune 500s and beat them at their own game or beat them at driving sales, but they were also able to pay more creators than their competitors could and know that they would make a return as a result of it. So it was something that's very beneficial, not just to the brand and driving sales. Then this, by the way, this is Walmart data here from their Illuminate technology or data service. But not only were we able to drive sales, but a lot of creators were able to be a part of that project and were able to also benefit from being able to help fund their costs as well. So how do we do this again? Well, we contextualize the audience as well as contextualizing the content. So I'm going to show you exactly what we do to contextualize the audience and the content. This right here is an image of millions of different creators and different influencers, as well as production companies or events, anyone that really has a strong following in social media. So we've mapped the entire social ecosystem. And what you'll notice that these millions of dots are organized together based off of color. And so you have red over here, purple, green, blue. Well, they're clustered and organized based on audience overlap of interest. And so what we've learned is if you can figure out all the millions of different social neighborhoods out there that best resonate with your content and best resonate with your actual audience, you can actually see if you are a creator or if you're a brand, which different clusters are actually most relevant to you, how to better contextualize who that audience is, what they're interested in, and then from there understand what type of content you should be serving those audiences. And what we've learned is geographics and demographics are not enough. That typically is the standard in advertising or in media or marketing. But that is really, really just, putting too many people in a really small box and over generalizing or assuming what they're interested in. And what we've learned is that humans, they're multifaceted, they're very emotional. And understanding the psychographics or the interests is game changing. And being able to do that at scale is something that people never had, those tools at their fingertips. But what we've learned is, we've been able to create a customized machine learning model where we use computer vision, natural language processing, where we make a vector. So we make like this connection where we can see what your audience is doing, what they're interested in, and what are they consuming in, and what are they consuming. So what are they interested in, and what are they consuming? And so what we've learned is understanding interest and understanding what people are consuming without having to really ask them, that can make a lot of impact. So if you see here, you see King Charles and you see Ozzy Osbourne. Did you know that these two people are the same on paper? They're exactly the same on paper. They're the same age. They're both white men. They've both been married twice. They're both wealthy and famous from the UK. Well, do you think they listen to the same music? Do you think they watch the same YouTube videos or the same movies? Or, they have a lot of the same food that they eat? I would bet that they're very different. Well, if you look at the different options of targeting, whether it's on a social platform or any type of media buy, most likely you're going to be targeting both of them. And so what we've learned is being able to understand and contextualize interest levels and what people are actually doing makes a really big difference. So this is an example of what we did with our client, Sony. And this is something that we also do with creators. Sony has different clusters. And so you see all these different colors here. These are all the different social neighborhoods or clusters of audiences that Sony has an affinity with, who are following Sony, and they can see okay, based on who they're following there's other people that are just like them that are interested in the same thing. And what you can see here is Sony, has an affinity with young tech-savvy creatives. Well, what's interesting here is that LG is one of the biggest competitors to Sony. And you'll see with this, purple cluster, Sony and LG are competing for a specific social neighborhood or an audience cluster. And that can be very complicated. Well, Sony can compete with LG just with this cluster, or they can find another cluster that's very similar to their core audience, where LG doesn't even exist. And this would be this cluster here, which is passionate, informed creatives. And so if we go a little deeper, all of these yellow clusters here that we see, these are all the clusters where LG and Sony have affinities, where they're competing for the same audiences or the same social neighborhoods. And so you see here, this is a cluster where Sony's on their own, and then you also see this other one down here where Sony's also not competing with LG. But look at all this white space. There's so much opportunity. And so when you look at Prime and how successful they've been, a lot of people assume that Prime is just beating Gatorade or taking market share from Gatorade. But what we have found is by leveraging this clustering analysis and being able to really look at the social neighborhoods, Prime has been growing in sales, not because they're just going after athletics, because they found other clusters or other social neighborhoods that are very relevant to Prime. For example, the EDM community. That's a community where Prime has thrived with and has driven sales with. There's lifestyle communities, there's other different types of communities where Gatorade or any of the other competitors really don't even hold a candle to or are even close to talking to. And so you can actually build market share and build influence, whether you're trying to get followers or whether you're trying to drive sales, by understanding what people are interested in and better able to contextualize what they're doing, and then understanding, okay, what type of content do we serve to them? And that goes to our next section, is contextualizing the content. So we've created models where we can really look at the content, look at the audiences around that content, and predict how many views a video is going to get. We can also see how many clicks or how many engagements a video is going to get. And if we have enough data, like we showed you with the toy company, we can actually predict retail sales, from video and audience engagement to driving sales in Walmart, Target, or on Amazon. And so being able to have full funnel predictions is something that's going to be very important. When you're in this world of decentralization of content, it's really a gold mine of art and unstructured data that can make it so you can do things as an advertiser or a creator that you could never do before. Also, we do attention heat maps, where we try to contextualize not only what people are going to watch, but what parts are going to interest them the most? What part of the video is going to grab their attention? Where are they going to be looking specifically? And then we're also working on retention models, not to just predict viewership or engagement, but where in the video is there going to be drop-off or an engagement increase? And so there's a lot of things we can do if you can better contextualize the audience and the content. When you're able to look at the unstructured data, you can do things that sound almost magical, but it is scientific, as well as looking at what percentage of engagement is real versus fake. Not a lot of people know this, but some of the top platforms, one specifically, social media platforms, 75% of creators have between 25 and 45% fake engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about followers. I'm talking about engagement, people that are liking or commenting on videos. A lot of those are fake. And so whether you're a brand wanting to work with a creator, or if you're a creator that's trying to build a new audience or expand your audience, it's good to be able to contextualize what is real versus fake when it comes to those comments, because it can make a huge difference on the type of return you can get while you're creating content or when you're collaborating with different content creators. And so looking at the full picture, both the audience and the content is game changing, and we now have enough of that data with this decentralized world of content to be able to do a lot more with it. Next slide. And so there's a couple, we've done a lot of different things, from being able to create tools to help brands to work with creators to drive sales, and to be able to model content to drive retail sales or other different initiatives that they want to accomplish. But we've also created other AI tools to help not just the brands, but also to help the creators with their actual content. So here you'll see our thumbnail analyzer. We made this live last year. You can see a prediction of your thumbnail and what click-through rate it should be getting, as well as you get to see a heat map of where people are going to be looking on that thumbnail, so you can become more intelligent on what type of thumbnails you should create in the future. Also, the AI title generator. There's different companies that do this, but we've not only copied and pasted what we can get from public APIs. We didn't do that. We actually created, our own architecture and framework with our own data scientists and machine learning experts to make sure that we could do this title generator and make sure that we give you a variety of titles that are very relevant, not just to your content, but also that's going to be relevant to your audience. Also, A/B testing titles, being able to A/B test thumbnails as well as descriptions. That is those are the tools that have been the most important for our TubeBuddy clients, and we've enhanced and really empowered and built up those tools to be even more successful. So you can A/B test the titles, the descriptions, in addition to being able to A/B test the thumbnails. And then suggested shorts, where we can take a statistical model and analyze what in your YouTube videos should be repurposed for TikTok or shorts or reels. And so where we can take your long form content and in a scientific way be able to know which content is going to be the best to repurpose for vertical video. And so that's what we've launched in the last year. I want to show you what we're about to roll out. I'm going to show you a demonstration or a demo of what we're currently calling the destination. This is not just for YouTube. This is actually platform agnostic, and this is to help you scale your creative process. And so I'm going to walk over here and show you what we have here. So first and foremost, I'm going to just use my own YouTube channel. I'm I guess a micro creator. I have about 20,000 subscribers, 21,000 actually, as of yesterday. You can clap. Thank you. That's a big deal. Well, what's interesting as we started creating tools, and I've continued to create content and interview different creator guests, etc. This has been game-changing for me. It's been game-changing to understand what type of creators I should have on my podcast, but also different areas of how I can optimize what I'm doing. And so as you can see here, we have the social neighborhoods or the audience clusters that I can analyze, but I can also look at not just creators, but what are they shopping, what's the niche, what's the type of content or websites they're interested in. And so if I go down here, the clusters or the social neighborhoods that follow my content are curious clickers. The audience that engages with these YouTube accounts can be described as diverse and in their interests. They are active social media users who enjoy, I won't read the whole thing. We also have artistic and curious pioneers. As I scroll down, not only am I going to see who my audience is and a description of that, but I can also see which creators out there are very relevant to me and my audience. What are other creators that my audience is interested in, and what are they watching? And so you have a couple of different niche education channels. You also have AI channels. You have Active Growth. You have Links Digital. You have Ben Moot, who does I guess education videos on selling. And so my channel, Creative Disruption, is focused on the science behind entertainment. So we talk to entertainment executives, technologists, as well as content creators. And so it makes sense that some of these niche creators come up. You have Roland Frazier, and his description is a recovering attorney. Roland Frazier practiced business tax and securities law. So another niche education channel. Well, if I keep going down, I can also see what these people are reading. And so right here, I can see that people are interested in data hoarder on Reddit. I don't know what that is. I haven't checked it out before. I'm doing this all live. But I can also see what people are buying. So we contextualize what people are reading. We can also contextualize what they're actually purchasing online. And so what you can see here, I have a very boring community. They're primarily buying books from $100 million leads. Oh, thanks. And so you can also see the videos that resonate with them, both your videos as well as other content creators that they're watching. So how I made a YouTube channel, how to use AI art on ChatGPT. And if you go back up to like reading, there's a lot of AI themes here as well. Well, how about we look at a creator that's a little more interesting than creative disruption? Let's look at Hannah Stocking. Who knows who Hannah Stocking is? Yeah. Thankful that she's joining us tonight and that she's a part of our panel. Well, who are her followers? What are they interested in? What type of content do they consume? What are they buying? Well, right here, you have engaged content escapists. You have inspirational igniters or joyful journey takers. And there's a description of each of these prominent clusters or social neighborhoods that she's a part of. But you can also see what are other creators that she has an affinity with that have overlap based off of interests. So you have Joey Salads, you have King Bach, you have the Bee family, you have Wolfie. And so she can look at the same data that I have access to and be able to better contextualize, okay, who is this audience? What are they interested in? And then what are some other interesting insights? Well, you can also come down here and see what are they buying. So you have people buying technology, solar panels, Teen Titans, which I think is an anime. Well, no, it's a DC game. You have hats. You have all sorts of different things. A microphone arm stand, and then you can also see the different content that they're watching. So there's an affinity with the McFarlanes and other big YouTube creators, but also UFC fighting. Very interesting. Well, one thing I didn't mention earlier with the creative disruption side is that we have an AI agent that we call Buddy. And Buddy is a generalist when it comes to Hannah Stocking or when it comes to your YouTube channel or your social presence, whether it's your audience or the content that they're consuming. And you can actually ask questions to Buddy on different insights that you want to gather around Hannah Stocking. So is Hannah in the room right now? I don't know if she is. So I'm just going to start asking some questions. Actually, does anyone want to ask a specific question to this AI agent, Buddy, who's going to be able to give you a data-driven answer? Anyone want to ask it? Yes.
What's a fun creative idea for a video that Hannah?
What about three? Our three creative funny videos. Let's do that. What are three creative ideas for videos that Hannah could do? Hannah can do. So as it starts loading, Buddy's looking at all of our content. Buddy's also looking at her audience to better contextualize, okay, what types of ideas are going to be good for these videos? And so as Buddy is coming up with some recommendations, you can go pretty deep and in creating lists. But as you get these recommendations, you might get a different response every single time you ask it. And so you want to save those different recommendations, and that's what we make sure we have memory. So we make it so you can actually ask these questions and save them in different notes. And so this is one of those things that can really save a lot of time when it comes to the creative process. Okay, here are the three different ideas. Comedy cooking showdown, and then travel adventure with a twist. So what's comedy cooking showdown? Hannah could host a humorous cooking competition where she and a guest, perhaps another popular influencer like King Bach, face off in a series of quirky and relatable cooking challenges. And it goes on from there. And so it looked at Hannah's audience, and there's a cooking affinity, as well as the type of content or comedy that they'd be interested in. Well, how about we ask, what are 10 products that Hannah's audience would buy? Oh, yeah. Thank you. that will speed up the process. Thank you, Michelle. So we just asked the question, what are 10 products that Hannah's audience would buy? So as that's loading, you can find a lot of different inspiration, but what we're trying to do here, if there's a common theme. We're trying to look at all the data, the unstructured data. So we're trying to look at what people are actually doing and what are they writing about, what are they viewing, but also what are they consuming and how's that making a difference. Okay, these are the different 10 ideas that Hannah could try selling to her audience. Now, just to give you a quick, a little more insight here. We did this with a brand, a beverage company, just a couple weeks ago, where we showed the CEO and the CMO. We asked the question, what are 8 new beverages that would be very relevant or would resonate with this brand's audience? And Buddy, our AI agent, popped out 8 different ideas, 2 of which were products that were already under development from their own research. And so you can imagine the light bulb that went off with the CEO and the CMO when they thought, whoa, that took us like a whole year to do that research. Well, Buddy was able to give them the response. So don't be scared of AI. AI just gives you a lot more insight faster. Okay, so these are the different product ideas that Hannah's audience might like. 1, cooking kits and gadgets. Travel accessories. Fitness equipment. Now, I'm going to read the description of fitness equipment. Products like yoga mats, resistant bands, or home workout gear could appeal to the segment of her audience interested in fitness and sports. Family board games. I thought this was interesting. ASMR tools. Given the interest in ASMR, items such as ASMR microphones, sleep headphones, or sensory toys could attract those seeking relaxation and sensory stimulation. Prank kits. Okay, that's random. That's a little different than ASMR. For those who enjoy challenges and pranks, prank kits or harmless joke items could be a hit, encouraging playful interactions among friends and family. So, maybe they're not the best ideas in the world, but these are ideas that have been inspired based on the data of your audience and the content that they're watching. And so it can really help point you in the right direction much faster. But you can also do this for content ideas. You can do this just asking questions, specific questions about your audience. And so, we'll make sure everyone here can have access, to this, beta and to be able to ask Buddy questions about your own YouTube channel or your own social presence. And, we'll get there. And then also, after this presentation, we're going to have a presentation where our technology team will go much deeper in all the different possibilities that you can do with this new beta version that we have. And so, TubeBuddy has traditionally been the platform to really help creators with video on YouTube. As you can see here, we're going cross-platform, not just across other social media sites, but we also want to help you when you're driving sales, when you're thinking of other types of businesses that you're trying to develop, but also understanding what's the shopping behavior in addition to the viewing behavior. And so what's coming next? So we talked a lot about contextualizing audience and content. And I think we can all understand how important that is if you're creating your own content, your own programming, but also if you're working with or collaborating with other content creators or with brands trying to work with creators, getting the insight of their audience and the content they're consuming is very important. Well, as we are launching Buddy, the Creator Buddy, and this cross-platform destination, we have a lot more ahead in addition to that we're very excited about. So one thing that we talked about earlier in the presentation is how many artists have been marginalized. Many of them have starved or had a really hard time making a living. And right now, you have 69% of content creators that make most of their money from brands. Well, what's interesting about that is how many creators do you think these brands can work with? There are brands out there that work with thousands, but they're few and far between. Most companies, with a lack of insight on ad avoidance or being able to contextualize audiences or contextualize which creators are actually going to be driving results for them, they usually don't work with many creators out there. And so you have 300 million content creators that are all trying to make a living, but really most of them are still in poverty. And so yes, there's millions that are making money now, but we have a long ways to go. And so what we're trying to crack next is to automate the process of brands and creators collaborating. Yeah. Why? Well, right now, it's the biggest form of revenue for content creators. But a lot of creators have not made the money they've needed to from the social networks, or from even understanding what types of content or products that they should be creating to really make it so they can get a better return on their investment of time in that content creation. And so we're not the first company that have tried taking a stab at this. This has been the majority of my career. I've worked 20 years in entertainment and new media and technology, and this has always been the issue at hand is how do we scale to help brands are seeing a huge return with content creators or driving sales with creators, how to make it so they can work with more creators faster. And so what you found is a lot of the social networks and thousands of other startups, they tried creating an Amazon marketplace where you connect brands and creators. Well, that never worked. Why is that? Well, they lacked the understanding of the physics that goes into a collaboration. They all assumed that creators are like products, but creators aren't products, they're human. They're emotional. They change their mind. They do things differently day to day. And trying to just having this marketplace was an area where you're trying to herd cats still, and most of these marketplaces the creators didn't even know about. And so what we're trying to do is how can we be proactive? Rather than having a reactive marketplace, how can we gamify this and be proactive where we can really create technology that can learn like a human but scale like a machine? And so as you've seen, we've scaled a lot and we've automated a lot when it comes to consumer and audience insights and content and insights around content. Now what we want to do is make it so a company can come in and look at all the data that's necessary to make decisions, and with a click of a button, they can activate dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of content creators and know that these content creators are going to be driving sales for them, and they're going to get a return on investment. This is what just needs to happen today, because with ad avoidance, this centralized media buying system that we've all been a part of is becoming more and more irrelevant. And so it's now time to take this proactive technology approach with AI to make it so you can get more money in the hands of more artists faster. And so what we're basically architecting is the infrastructure to reach audiences and be able to predict what audiences are going to do. So yes, not only is this going to be something that becomes a big part of a media buying or media planning budget, but we're going to be able to predict before we actually activate any of the content on how successful that content's going to be. Where you're going to be able to create a customized algorithm of knowing which content creators and which audiences are going to drive the most impact and the best results for your brand and ultimately for sales. And so brands will be able to go straight to creators in a platform agnostic way to really get to audiences and to be able to drive results and to be able to understand how is the audience going to react to the content and how can we actually make it so we get a strong return on advertising spend or return on investment. And so getting to audiences, as we mentioned before, has always been through centralized media companies, whether it's Meta or Google or Paramount or Disney. You've always had to go through different centralized media companies. And those media companies have been fantastic. They've done what they've needed to do in order to be empowering to creators. But now that we're seeing so much content decentralization and so much change in consumer behavior, we must really just open up the floodgates and figure out how do we do this better, where both creators, brands, and audiences are all much more happy, where they get content not through disruption and just interruption with ads, but they can see content that they love, and brands can be empowering to those creators in a way where they can keep their authenticity and their consistent programming, but then at the same time still have the results of the best performance type of campaign that they've ever done in the past. And so brands going straight to creators to get to their audiences, we believe is the future. And we believe that $875 billion that's being spent a year on media will shift into the hands of creators and artists, more so than into centralized media platforms. Now, why is this interesting? Well, we already see it happening. I think almost on a weekly basis, we're talking to a new Fortune 500 company where they're trying to create a strategy where they don't just shift their media buying budgets to digital, but they're now talking about digital content, being inside the actual content. That's the trend. And the biggest thing that's slowing this down is having the right technology to make it so it can scale. Because, again, working with creators or hundreds of creators at a time is like herding cats. So you need to have a technology that can really take out the guesswork, but also take out the tedious detail that goes into activating content creators with brands. And so a big part of this, as we talked about Buddy earlier, is leveraging what we call AI agents. Different, GPT agents or, AI models that are specialized in helping you do what you do best. And so this is going to be something that we've already learned is going to be able to help you get insight on your audience and on the content. But there's also going to be AI agents that do your influencer marketing for you, or help you with your media buys, or help you with product placement. You're going to be able to have a specialized AI agent to be able to do anything that it would take dozens of humans to do themselves. And so this is a big part of the technology that we're building, is where we don't just have a buddy who's a generalist that's going to be able to give you great insight on your audience and on the content. But by next year, we hope to have over 15 different agents, whether it's a designer agent, or a thumbnail agent, or an influencer marketing agent, or a media buying agent. We're going to be leveraging AI agents that are going to know more about your audience and your content than you do. And it will be able to be very helpful in what type of content you should be creating, as well as which type of content you should be collaborating with, and also keeping an eye on the ball, making sure that there's going to be a return on investment. This is the future. And this is where things are going. And so as we build this technology, this is going to be something that's very disruptive. And we already know that Goldman Sachs said by 2027, the creator economy is going to be $500 billion. I mean, it's going to have it's going to be, have that type of value. Well, we know that AI is already in the trillions. And so with all this disruption that's going to be happening, with all the different engineers and all the different data scientists that are out there today, I would recommend highly, because of the amount of content and unstructured data that exists in the creator economy and in media and advertising, you should leave the boring job that you're working on in energy and flock to the creator economy. Because there's more data to really see more breakthroughs with AI than we've ever had the chance to in the past. And so we're going to figure out how to make it so those 300 million content creators and those different productions and all those different artists that are out there that are still very poor and are really struggling, we're going to make it so they can work with these brands directly, and that they can do it in a way that's empowering, so they can pay the bills that they need to pay in order to create and express themselves. So what's happening today is we're seeing a pretty interesting balance of the left brain and the right brain. And the truth is, you need both. The reason why AI has been as successful as it is today is because of all the content creators out there. So we got to be giving props to YouTube. We got to be giving props to TikTok, to Netflix, to Amazon, to all these different platforms, because they've really made it so these content creators can express themselves and have an audience to do so that is less, that is not archaic like what we've seen in the media world or in the art community in the past. Everyone has a chance now to self-express and to be successful in doing it, and be able to use the tools to take out the guesswork to be as successful as possible. And so, this balance of AI and art is very necessary for both artists to be more effective and more independent, and to really control the destiny before them, to fulfill their dreams, and to manifest where we're going to go as a society, what new innovations we're going to be creating. We need more of that. But AI is going to make it so it can happen faster. And it's going to be able to scale these artists and these content creators and these brands to be much more successful and effective with the content they're creating, to get the reaction that they need so they can be successful. And in order to do it, it can't be disruptive. It can't be an ad campaign that's forcing you to see a 30-second commercial before you see the next piece of content. It's going to need to happen inside the content. That's going to give you higher clicks. It's going to get higher views. But it's also going to get you the highest ROI on your media spend. And so I want to share a quote from Sam Altman, who is the founder of OpenAI and one of the pioneers of this new world of AI that we're in. And I found it very interesting what he had to say just a couple weeks ago. He said, "I think critical thinking, creativity, the ability to figure out what other people want will be the most valuable skill of the future? Well, I believe he's describing the artist and the creator. To be able to understand your audience better, to be able to understand how people are going to react to your content. That ability to be able to understand what people want and how they're going to react and be creative on how you message to them to get that response. That is the future of where corporate America is going, but also where creators are going. So we are seeing the era of the artist. We can keep calling it the creator economy, but I really think this is for the history books. People are going to remember all the content that is happening today, unlike any other time in history. And why is that important? Art preserves history. Art preserves culture. And as we talked about, art is the best form of data to train AI to do things that we can't do that are human. And we can, to the point where we can predict the future, whether people are going to buy something or how many views a certain piece of content is going to get. And what's really interesting to me when it comes to humanity is us being able to contextualize this art or this content, which helps us understand our culture, which helps us understand history. But this form of data that we can learn from can make it so we have a better future. Maybe we're more inclusive. Maybe we're more understanding. Maybe there'll be less war as we have more humans out there self-expressing and being able to do it more effectively than ever before. And so we are in the era of the artist. It's not going away, but it's also not going to be replaced by AI. It's what's going to keep pushing technology and AI forward so we can have a very successful tomorrow. Thank you.
What's up? I'm Jenny Hoyos. Oh my goodness, that just sounded like an insane YouTube video intro. But anyway, I'm Jenny Hoyos, and I've gotten over 1 billion views on YouTube Shorts in only 2 years. So here's my secret that I tell every single creator. Okay, now it might not be a secret if I'm telling every single creator, but the point is, this is my biggest tip that I give everyone, and that's to be unique. Because I see a lot of upcoming creators copy their favorite YouTubers, whether that be their humor, ideas, style, editing, etc. But the problem with that is the viewers aren't going to watch your video when they could just be watching that creator that you're copying. Not to mention, if you're making videos like everyone else, then you're not going to stick out from the crowd. So my biggest tip is to be unique. And I wish you guys the best. I know you're gonna blow up. You just have to keep going. I'm trying my best with this advice thing. Okay, you got this. Keep crushing it. Keep posting, and eventually it's gonna work. Stay consistent. Good luck, guys. I'll see you at the top. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? I'm.
So yes, we have two amazing presenters right now. We have Alex McFadyen, who is our EVP of Technology in Evangelism, who is going to do a deep dive with a brand on our technology. And we have Neil Varner, our head of product, who will do a deep dive with a creator. I think I missed I flipped those. Yeah. Creator with Alex and brand with Neil. All right, everyone, welcome to them to the stage.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to welcome onto the stage Mr. Billy Mann. Round of applause, everybody.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So as I said, I'm Alex. I'm from the tech team, and we're going to have a little bit of a look at the wonderful new tool that we've been building. And we're going to be using Billy as our willing guinea pig to go through some of the features that we've got out here.
Excited to see what information I can glean from this. This is cool. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we're looking at here is our new tool that we've been building. And all we've done to kind of prep for this demo was put your channel into it. And from that, it was able to go and find a whole bunch of similar creators to you out there on the internet. So some people admit you, hopefully you recognize some of these names. Yeah.
A lot of these people are old roommates.
There you go, exactly.
They're very familiar
It's
faces.
getting it right straight off the bat. So what it's doing here is it's looking at your audience. It's finding similar creators who's got audiences that are similar to yours, and then it's recommending those as suggestions. You can then go through and you can either choose to accept that recommendation or reject it. And what you're doing here is you're helping the AI understand who you want to be and who your audience is supposed to be. We found that actually being able to allow the AI to use the creators as a proxy for the audience is a much more accurate way of describing that audience than saying, you know, men between the ages of 13 and 24 or something like that, because it really gets to the heart of that audience. As well as being able to locate other creators, we can also get data from other parts of the internet. For example, what they're reading on YouTube, what they're reading on Reddit. So some of their reading experiences. So you can see these are some of the different articles and different subreddits that they're interested in. Once again, you can go in there and you can say, yes, I like this, or no, I don't. And again, you're training this AI. You're giving it the information that it needs to understand so that it can be personalized exactly to you. And then we can go deeper. So there's also shopping behavior. We can see the sorts of things that your audience are buying on YouTube. Oh, sorry, on Amazon. I keep on mixing up my words. And this is really, really useful, again, because it can give you that kind of more holistic understanding of the people who are consuming your content. And once you've gone through and you've kind of created all this data, that's when the real fun starts. That's when we can layer in our generative technology. What you can see on the right over here is a whole bunch of different generative actions. And this is where it takes the content and the data that you've already created about your audience and then gives it to an AI to be able to answer a specific problem. So the problem that I primed it with is actually generate targeted content ideas for my audience segments. So that's going to do two things. It's going to come back and give a number of different ideas, and let's drill into one of these. So the first one was about content ideas for your YouTube channel. Great, let's open it up. So here, it's saying that one segment is your family focus segment. It's giving you the age ranges, it's giving you their primary interests, the type of content they prefer to consume, either long form or short form. And then it even gives you a couple of content ideas in terms of fun day vlogs or parent hacking series or kids teach parents, those sorts of things. And you can go deeper with some of these other segments. And so this gives you a way of really understanding your audience holistically based on all the data that you've already created, but then drills in with some actual content ideas.
Wow.
Good, that was the response I was looking for. You can then save that, so you can then save that to your area so that you can then dig into that later, because obviously when you get these insights, you want to make sure that you still keep them. But there's also more AI that we can run here. So it came out with a few different examples of different audience segments, and we've got one of those right at the bottom. This will then generate those audience segments for you, as we've done at the bottom. And so it split your audience into three main groups: vibrant viewers, outdoor thrill seekers, and cheerful jokesters. So if we go for the outdoor thrill seekers, for example, once again, we're then digging deep into that subsection of your audience. So again, these are the sorts of creators that resonate well with that subsection of your audience. And again, you've still got all these generative actions that you can run on it. So you could ask it to make specific ideas for that section of your audience and things like that, which is really quite incredible in terms of that problem that you've heard people talking about already, the blank page. This really gives you a starting point for some of those areas.
Wow, yeah, it looks like the web can spread so far outward and have so many different branches of information to look for. That's really cool.
Yeah. And so as an example, so this was actually me running it earlier. So, and you can then see some of the detailed descriptions of any of these audiences. One of the things that came up here, which I thought was fascinating, obviously you've got some great skiing content on your platform and on your channels. Here, the AI has really picked up on that in terms of the outdoor enthusiast. And it's sort of saying things, have you considered maybe doing some stuff around survival skills or camping and things like that, really keying into that side of your audience that are obviously engaging with your content, but maybe that's another area of content that you might look into.
That's cool. That opens up, like you're saying, a whole new avenue of content that I may not have been considering before. That's exciting.
And again, all these recommendations you can save. That then goes into the AI for it to then be able to use the next time that you ask it a question. And as well as being able to ask those pre-generated questions, we also have our buddy chat system, which is where you can actually just talk to your data. It's a complete chat interface. You can come in here and ask it a question. I pre-did one here. How could Billy use these insights to his advantage? And it's got mountains of ideas. There was one in here that caught my eye actually, which I thought was quite interesting. Mail opening segments. I don't know if you get any fan mail, but being able to open your fan mail live on stream or on a video and then talking to your fans and engaging with them in that kind of really authentic and human way.
That's really cool. There's nothing that generates fan mail like getting excited about fan mail.
Exactly.
So that's really, yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. And that's the really amazing thing with this, is every time it comes up with an idea, you can drill deeper and you can drill deeper and you can drill deeper. And that's what's so fun, is that we can now open it up and you can literally ask your data almost anything.
That's really cool in a land also of option paralysis, being able to kind of hone your decision making to things that seem like the best or more prioritized decisions.
Absolutely.
Or kind of like list it in that way.
Indeed. In fact, actually in this one, when it gives you a set of results like this, if you want to understand more about any one piece, you can literally ask it, hey, that continuous uplifting content, that was a really interesting thing. Why did you think that? What audience segments of mine most resonated? And it'll give you the full data dive. Like, it's an amazing tool to be able to really dig in and ask those deep questions from your specific data, which is something you can't do with a chat GPT or something like that, because it doesn't understand you. It's a general solution, whereas this has been trained on your exact data and really gives you the insights that you need to succeed.
Wow.
And with that, we'll get off the stage so that everyone can get drinking and get the party started.
Thank you.
Some advice that I would give a creator starting out is to stay true to yourself and don't just do what other people are doing just because it works. Another thing would be to always go out of your comfort zone. You're always going to learn something new or find something out if you go out of your comfort zone in every aspect of life too, not just content creation. And then the biggest thing that I learned was that you should surround yourself with people that are smarter than you in some way, with people that are where you want to be, and that will help you learn and grow very, very, very quickly. And then the last thing is, don't put yourself in a box. Continue to reinvent yourself and find what fulfills you and find what works. Hopefully that's helpful.
Are we rolling right now? Can you hear me? You're good? Okay, cool. I had to turn it on myself. Closer is good. Yeah, got it.
Test, test, test. Oh, yeah, I'm loud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe it's just the... Bringing the Utah over here.
Nate?
Yeah. Nate Neal.
It's like the number one. Nate. He's waiting for somebody to say we're actually going.
Somebody come out with the...
Are we all like... Oh, yeah, no, I'm not talking right now. Like... to understand who's on the other side actually. Whenever I'm ready. Okay. Cool. Hi, I'm Neil Varner. I'm from Product, and this is Nate.
I'm the Director of Growth at Nomadic.
Perfect. Cool. And today we're going to be looking at a new feature that we've been putting out for TubeBuddy. Showing really kind of two things. Number one, is how brands and creators can ultimately get information and data about their audiences, to be able to collect that, really see, through like the screen, and ultimately be able to understand who's on the other side actually viewing and engaging with their content. And then we're going to take it to a step 2, which is talking about how to use AI and integrating like with that content. So part 1 of this, we've pulled together a page for Nomadic that's going to help us understand kind of like their niche, their space. And at the very top here, ultimately, you can see like the first section, which is creators. We've saved, Nomadic. We've worked through like Peak Design, a couple of competitors.
They thank
also saved a couple of creators with
day.
And
so thanks everyone.
There are other creators ultimately being suggested. These creators are not being suggested purely just on similarity or topic and things like that. They're actually being driven by audience similarity. So ultimately things that are driven by engagement.
One of the things that we really try to do is just make it feel like our products are everywhere. And the way that you do that is obviously we can't send products out to every single person. So being a little bit more strategic about who we're going after and trying to create that, man, I just can't get away from this bag type of feeling. Like this is super interesting for something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice part is that you're able to explore it based on like really who's here, what's going on. And even you go into it a little bit deeper. If we were to stop on like at the top and actually just jump into her page, you can actually get the same information ultimately at her level and be able to explore ultimately like the different creators that are similar to, say, Lizzie, exploring the audience and pieces around that. Going even a little bit further than that, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just curious. Is this similar like audience demographics or like people following multiple different people, or similar content that they're producing?
Yeah, so ultimately the content is, the similarity is driven by engagement. So you're looking at comments, likes, subscribers.
Cool.
The actual information that is really there. But digging even just a little bit further than that, one thing that goes like a little bit further is actually looking at off-platform behaviors. So moving into kind of like Lizzie's off-platform behaviors, so like where we're seeing people on Reddit, as an example. We have a paid panel essentially that helps us be able to understand like where your audience, where your viewers, and where else do they hang out online.
I love this. Reddit has always been traditionally kind of a tough cookie to crack because the audience on Reddit is really resistant to any type of paid media, at least in our experience. But finding a way to get into the subreddits organically, it could be really valuable. And just knowing where to go, because there's just a vast amount of different subreddits it's a lot of ground to cover. So picking out some different ones could be super effective for us.
Yeah, so then pushing that even further, ultimately we're able to pull like shopping behavior. So we're really getting a fuller picture in this case of who Lizzie is, what kind of like followers and what her viewers actually take in.
So her viewers are into these kinds of products.
Yeah, these sorts of cameras, the discs, obviously you can see that that's relevant to like her particular channel and what she's producing. In addition to that, we also have like watching behaviors. So who else are they consuming?
There's our guy. Pete.
Love it. And so then, pushing further on this is like helping us understand, like, when it comes to activating on this, it's kind of like moving into like, okay, well, how do I use this data in order to do something actionable? How do I actually take this and really put it to use? Obviously, AI is like all the rage these days. Yeah. We all want to use it. One of its hardest struggles is like being able to actually effectively use data in conjunction with AI. And so all this data that we've been going over, ultimately we've been able to integrate it so that it can help you actually put together like your campaigns. An example of that and kind of where you find that is over here on the right side panel. We've got lots of different ideas and kind of preloaded like prompts. So new product ideas, campaign ideas. If you push down, like obviously there's lots of lists there. Ultimately it's up to the user, and the user can customize these things. We'll show that in another demo as far as like being able to actually take this and push in a direction, tune it specifically for your needs. In this case, let's look at like the influencer campaign ideas and really helping kind of like pull this information. Right now we've only saved Lizzie and Connor, and so like you'll see that like all of a sudden pop into the actual ideas.
That's interesting. So it gives you like an actual written prompt of collaborate with these people about tech integrated travel gear. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so ultimately you can save this, and then move into this next portion of ultimately starting to actually build like that campaign, the different assets, the things that you need in order to move yourself forward. In addition to that, I'm going to just kind of like switch gears and talk about like Connor, for example. So it's like, why should I work with Connor? Like,
that's a great question, especially like evaluating influencers can be kind of tricky, and it feels like sometimes it's a good or bad type of thing in the feedback mechanism. There's so many variables to account for, like the timing of the post, the content around it. Did we send them the right bag? You know, all these things can add up, but having additional, like, here's some reasons why this might be somebody to look at would be super helpful when you're going through just lists and lists of influencers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so ultimately, this can be tuned. Obviously, I gave it a very simple like prompt. Hey, why should I do this? You could ask for it to hit on specific like brand qualifications or different like notes that way. But if you like it, then great. Give me a short drafted email to reach out to Connor and start our collaboration and start working together.
That's awesome.
So that brings us ultimately to a close of this first round of kind of showing, you know, the new platform, its capabilities, and really bringing in audience data and being able to help use AI to then craft like your messaging, your partnerships, really be able to move yourself forward. Any last words?
This is cool. I mean, a lot of familiar faces on here. You hit the competitors spot on, and yeah, no, any opportunity to save a little bit of time, and especially in the influencer space, would go a really long way for us, help cover some extra ground.
I really appreciate that. So next we'll be hearing from Alex McFadden, and he's going to be covering a different use case for us.
Advice that I would give my younger self when I was starting YouTube would be to focus on my weakness and whatever I wasn't good at, because it makes for a great story. I would always be trying to find my strengths, and I didn't have any because I'm not talented in anything. But I wish I would have told myself, hey, if you find your weakness and develop it into an interesting story, people will watch. It's relatable, and everyone loves sort of like the underdog story, right? So that's one piece of advice I would give myself. Probably another one's just, you know, just keep working hard. You'll get there. Consistency, that matters a lot. But honestly, I think a lot of people underestimate the power of their weakness and what they're not good at, because it makes for a very, very interesting story. So hopefully that helps, and best of luck on your journey.